Battling in Pokemon is more than just choosing 4 moves on a pocket monster and using those moves at random, hoping they'll land you a KO. A lot of thought goes behind each turn. You don't want to be too obvious, but then you don't want to overthink a situation too much either. Some Pokemon have very few weaknesses, some have too many to count, and some, well, have none when you look at their abilities. Yes, abilities. Abilities certainly add another component to battling, which makes it more difficult. Take Azumarill for example. It's a water and fairy type. Great! So you can just go for a grass type move, which would be super effective, right?
Wrong.
Because it could have the ability Sap Sipper, which not only makes it immune to grass type moves, but gives it a +1 in attack. So just before you click Power Whip, you thought you were going to land a super effective move, but then that notification on your screen appears, which lets you know, at that moment,
Oh shit.
you messed up. Then it got me thinking of Pokemon who are capable of Mega Evolving. Most Pokemon with a Mega tend to have different abilities to its non-Mega counterpart. It then got me thinking of some interesting strategies you could go for to bait your opponent before hitting that Mega Evolution button. Some can be defensively orientated and others can be offensively orientated. We'll start with a really common and probably obvious strategy with Sharpedo. Regular Sharpedo's hidden ability is Speed Boost, which does exactly what it says on the tin. It boosts its speed by 1 stage. Now, a base 95 speed stat isn't to be sniffed at, however a good speed increase after Mega Evolving isn't necessarily a bad idea, because it'll ensure you'll outspeed anything within your speed tier, or any threats that would otherwise OHKO you. So before eagerly hitting that Mega Evolve button, why not go for a Protect on the first turn? You'll evade any potential fake outs and be rewarded with a juicy speed increase. Then on the second turn you can choose to Mega Evolve and make use of its Strong Jaw ability with moves such as Crunch, Ice Fang and Psychic Fangs for those pesky fighting types. However, be wary that this strategy is pretty popular and could be easily predicted. Your opponent could anticipate the Protect and set up in your face. Additionally, a Mach Punch will essentially shut you down because priority does not care about speed. Let's take a look at Venusaur. Its hidden ability is Chlorophyll, which increases its speed in sunlight. Say you're in a bit of a pickle because your team is getting outsped by something pretty quick. Imagine the sun is up. You can go to the beach, put those shades on, but don't forget your sunscreen. Now, Venusaur has respectable speed, but with its Chlorophyll ability, its speed is doubled, making it a pretty fast attacker. You're very likely to outspeed your opponent's pesky Pokemon that's about to 6-0 you. Go for a cheeky Giga Drain for a swift revenge kill. Then you can choose to Mega Evolve on the next turn should your foe go for a Fire or Ice type move, and then you're laughing. Granted, this is heavily reliant on the weather condition, but I think it's still a pretty nice way of throwing your opponent off guard. They may even assume that Gardevoir that you have in the back is holding that all-important Mega Stone. Blastoise's Rain Dish ability is pretty neat. It acts like leftovers provided it's raining. You could use Blastoise as a good pivot, anticipate a move it can tank relatively well and gain some HP back, possibly negate the damage inflicted on it. Then bam! Mega Evolve and start spamming Water Pulse in the rain, making use of its newly acquired Mega Launcher ability. Pretty simplistic, but I think it can work particularly well if you can make a good prediction, or force your opponents back to the wall with such a pivotal switch. Alakazam is another great Pokemon you can play mind games with. Not only is it a great leading Pokemon with its fantastic speed, it makes for a great revenge killer. It can equally be a reliable switch in for your opponent if they have hazards up with that Magic Guard ability. If you're anticipating a status move on one of your more defensive orientated teammate, Alakazam can be a reliable switch in to sync that status condition onto your opponent too. Although Alakazam will also be inflicted with this status condition, you've given your opponent a taste of their own medicine. Additionally, it can be used as an inverse tactic to what we've been talking about. As you're aware, Mega Alakazam's ability is Trace, which copies your opponent's ability, with some exceptions. Can you imagine your opponent second guessing which one of your Mons are the Mega? Their Jolteon is there spamming T-Bolts, sees Alakazam and wants to Volt Switch out of there because you haven't Mega Evolved yet, giving them the illusion it's holding another item. Then, when they least expect it, hit that Mega Evolution button and Trace Volt Absorb and deny that switch in. Kangaskhan. Something I thought that could work reasonably well is if you use Kanga as a lead, which everyone and their mother used to do in Generation 6. Imagine this scenario, you're feeling pretty smug that you have a pretty strong lead against your opponent. You want to apply that fake out pressure, or get a +2 in your attack with Power Up Punch, coupled with your Parental Bond ability. But ooh, what's this? Your opponent only just brought a Sableye, what in the world do you do now? Well my friend, Kangas Mega's secondary ability is Scrappy, which ensures ghost types will be hit by moves they are usually immune to. So not only can you apply that fake out pressure, but you can also hit Sableye with Power Up Punch for super effective damage. Although it's no +2, it's something, right? You can then Mega Evolve once those pesky ghost types have been dealt with. Once that's done, you can kick some grass and take names. Pinsir gets access to the move Quick Attack. Priority really is handy at times despite its nerf in Generation 7. Imagine your opponent has taken out your defensive wall, but your opponent is super low on health. Bring in Pinsir, revenge kill with Quick Attack and get that sweet Moxie boost. You're now at +1 in attack and can Mega Evolve and get Flying Stab with Return. Boom! Strats. I'm not usually a fan of having a mon having 2 moves of the same type, but in this very specific scenario, I feel like it is warranted. You can kind of do the same with Gyarados, as its hidden ability is also Moxie. Additionally, if you really wanted to, you could use Gyarados as an Intimidate pivot for any physical attackers. This strategy also applies to Salamence, seeing as it also possesses Moxie and Intimidate as its non-Mega abilities. Not only this, but because of Gyarados' change of typing, you can play mind games with your opponent. For example, regular Gyarados is a water flying type, which means grass type moves are neutral on it, and fighting type moves aren't very effective. However, upon Mega Evolving, it becomes weak to grass because its flying type is replaced with dark, which also means the fighting resistance becomes a weakness. Tyranitar also has some pretty interesting abilities. Although its primary ability remains as its ability upon Mega Evolving, you can change it up a little bit if you really wanted to. Say you're going up against a team that relies on HP recovering berries, such as a Belly Drum Azumarill. It's not necessarily a bad idea to not Mega Evolve with T-Tar if you anticipate this. This is because T-Tar possesses the Unnerve ability, which prevents its foe from consuming its held berry. So can you imagine if Azumarill goes for Belly Drum but then it can't eat that citrus berry? Bag the KO with a Stone Edge or something. Once you've achieved this, Mega Evolve not only to summon the Sandstorm, but because T-Tar is a rock type, it'll also benefit from the Spadef increase that the Sandstorm provides. Of course, this is very situational. It's definitely a strategy I feel is pretty interesting to say the least. Gardevoir's strategy can be viewed as the inverse of the Alakazam strat I referenced earlier. This is because Gardevoir possesses Trace as its secondary ability. Perhaps you can trace an ability like Intimidate or something that may grant you an immunity. This would make Gardevoir a pretty safe switch in if you predict correctly. Once you've achieved this, you can Mega Evolve and start destroying everything with Hyper Voice. Although, be mindful that you could equally trace an ability that may cause more harm than any good, so Mega Evolving on the first turn may be in your best interest. Mawile can be used in a similar way as an Intimidate pivot like Gyarados, but you can also run Hyper Cutter. If you anticipate that your opponent is going to lead with an Intimidator or use a stat lowering move such as Charm, Mawile can be viewed as a very enticing choice. Medicham's hidden ability Telepathy can work particularly well in a double setting. Imagine you want to spam EQ with your teammate, but you don't want to damage Medicham, especially because of how frail it is. You can opt for Medicham to go for Fake Out without Mega Evolving, and then your ally can spam EQ. Once your opponent is low enough on health, your ally can then opt for a different move. You can Mega Evolve on this turn, so you can make use of your pure power ability and start cleaning up. Hey, you can even name your Medicham Juanito. Get it? Like janitor? Main Ettrick. So it has the ability Lightning Rod, right? Why not use it as a safe switch in? Once you've gotten rid of that threat that carries all those electric type moves that your poor Pelipper doesn't want to deal with, Mega Evolve and start adopting the Intimidate pivot strategy with Volt Switch. Similarly with Banette, but not so much in immunity, you can try and deter Spore Breloom from ruining your day with your Insomnia ability. Later on you can Mega Evolve to get those Priority Willows and Destiny Bonds in to wreak havoc. With Absol you might predict a Dark type move coming your way. Switch in to get that Justified boost, so you're essentially at +1 attack. Mega Evolve and start sweeping your opponent. The beauty of this is that if someone second guesses whether your Absol is a Mega in your team and tries shutting you down with Willow, you'll bounce that status condition right back onto them. Slowbro. You want to go for Trick Room or Calm Mind on your first turn, but you just know that your opponent is going to try and deny that with Taunt. Problem solved. Slowbro's primary ability is Oblivious, which since Gen 6 not only prevents attraction but prevents you from being taunted. You set that Trick Room up, bro. Then you can Mega Evolve and start doing what Slowbro does best. Sableye adopts the inverse of the Banette strategy. As Sableye is immune to prankster moves, you don't need to worry about Taunt or Encore Whimsicott as much. Get those calm minds in first, and when you feel you have enough setup, Mega Evolve and start dishing out the damage. Of course, upon Mega Evolving you can't be statused because of your newly acquired Magic Bounce ability. The only downside to this strategy is that your opponent may figure out what you're trying to do and hit Toxic on the first turn. It's all about those mind games. Finally, let's look at Altaria. Altaria's primary ability, Natural Cure, means it can remove any status condition that was inflicted upon it simply by switching out. You can set up D-Dance to test the waters without Mega Evolving and go from there. Say you get burnt or paralysed, no worries. Back to the drawing board, switch Altaria out instead. Once you're comfortable enough with your setup, Mega Evolve and benefit from that Pixelate ability and start spamming return. Although it's not uncommon for Altaria to run Heal Bell, but if you want to not waste your move slot on this, then you have this strategy at your disposal. You could equally use your change of typing to your advantage. So those are some of the strategies for most of the Megas out there. What did you think of them? I know I missed out some Mega Pokemon, but that was due to me not being able to think of a good enough strategy for them. However, if you have thought of a strategy I didn't mention, or thought of a better one for the ones I have suggested, I'd love to read your thoughts. Why not drop your suggestions in the comment section below. If you enjoyed watching, please leave this video a big thumbs up because that really does help me out, as well as subscribing to my channel so you never miss a video from me. And with all of that being said, I'll see you guys whenever I upload next.